United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Hubbard County Board meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Any change to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. We have approval.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay. Second.
This is Ted, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that's approved. Any public input? There being none, through public input. Consent agenda, any items to discuss or pull? Not? We have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Approved. Okay, public employees, not as many as last meeting. All right, social services. Jennifer Toole, social worker, lead children's services, began full-time position on September 11th. And then Jason Ness, transit supervisor, began full-time position on September 18th. And we welcome those two. And next comes veteran services.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We just want to take a little bit of time and give you an update on what our office is doing and what our mission is. Veteran Services continue to serve the veterans and their family members through applying for benefits that they've earned on both the federal, state, and local level. We're kind of unique in the county in that we're certified and accredited on the national level and on the state level. So we're not just limited to helping veterans within our community, but we do reach out throughout the state and the nation. We've actually had a couple of claims that we've helped overseas in the Philippines and England too. So that's kind of neat. Currently, the Veteran Service Officer in Wadena is out for a little bit, so we're also assisting Wadena. And we appreciate the opportunity to help them out and those veterans that reach out and ask assistance for us. So we're fortunate for that. We partner with local organizations, both the Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, the Marine Corps League, Living at Home, Mojave, and Salvation Army, to make sure that our veterans are properly taken care of, and we vet those individuals. I think it's important that we do reach out to those other organizations, because a lot of those organizations, it saves the county funds. Okay, a lot of these are nonprofits, so we like to divert those resources or allow those veterans to go out there and get those benefits again that they can participate and apply for. Like I said, we're accredited through federal and state levels. We assist with veterans applying for federal claims, medical through the VA healthcare system, insurance through the VA, burial benefits on the federal and the state level. Veterans homes, we're very active, specifically with the Bemidji Veterans Home. Aaron's been working with them in some of their upcoming events, financial assistance, and then a lot of recreational activities. A lot of the things that we do, we want to make sure that these veterans have recreational activities and they get out of their homes. Some of the events we put on, it's the only reason veterans get out. And Aaron will talk a little bit about that. I think we're making a difference, both locally, state, and federal. Both Aaron and I are officers in the American Legion, the Disabled American Veterans. And I'm also participating on the financial boards for both the Disabled American Veterans and the Minnesota Association of County Veteran Service Officers on the state level. And with that, I'll kind of turn it over to Aaron.
Yeah, like you were saying, some of the events we've been doing, we started a thing we call Coffee with Vets, and we literally just go to a parking lot and we have coffee out there and donuts, and it's really bringing some of these guys in who just don't get out of their homes. They isolate a lot, which is something very common in our culture, being veterans, and it gets them out to meet other guys, and we get them involved in the community, and we've had a lot of success with that so far. Some of the other things we do, we'll advertise with the DAV and the Legion. They're always putting on events, different hunting events or fishing events or something like that. So we're getting vets to come in the office and sign up for these things. And then we can talk to them about benefits while they're in there. We're always trying to hook that one in. Speaking of benefits, I ran our FY22 numbers between our compensation and medical benefits that we've done. The vets have been awarded around 27.4 million and that's just with us, just our county. We also do the State Soldiers Assistance Program, which helps lower income vets with dental and optical. So far this year, we've done $37,000 worth of that, and that's going right to local businesses here in the county. As of right now, I have 93 active claims that I'm working. So that means I'm tracking them, appealing them at all different levels, and Jerry has 72. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew he had a lower number.
And I wanted,
Right now.
and I wanted to make sure that I let him know that I'm directing appropriately.
Future project right now, we're working on updating our software to a software called VetPro. It's going to enable us to do everything completely digitally. So hopefully minimize our paper. It will also help us to do claims right where a veteran's at. So we have a lot of veterans in nursing homes. I've been trying to go there and do them, but it's a lot of back and forth because I don't have the capabilities. But with this new software, I'll be able to just bring my laptop and help a guy right there in the nursing home get a claim done. They'll sign it. We're done right there. So I'm pretty excited about that. We've been working with the county IT office helping us out with that. And that's what's going on.
Is the insurance that a lot of the vets have, do you know, is it Prime West or is it, as a veteran, is it something else?
If they're retired veterans, they'll have TRICARE.
They still will have TRICARE, okay.
Yes, ma'am, but most of our veterans are not retired. So they rely on just the VA healthcare system, which isn't insurance. It's just a place for them to receive healthcare. That's it.
Okay, so what if they need health care? It doesn't cover?
They have to go to a VA clinic for it to be covered.
Therein lies the
With-
problem because the
But there's a
waiting
lot
list
of
is- yeah,
extra programs with that as well. So let's say the vet just cannot get to a VA clinic.
okay.
We will help them do a community care, and they can get care right here in the community with the VA paying for it.
Okay,
Yeah, it's a misunderstanding a lot with the VA healthcare. It's not true insurance. It's just an avenue for veterans to receive healthcare.
This is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about before, also as within our budget. One of the most important things we concentrate on is education, training, and outreach. The majority of the grant that I receive each year, the $10,000 grant from the state, almost 70 or 80% of that is just strictly for our training. Because these programs are complicated, it's not easy. And a lot of times we tell our veterans, if the programs were easy, we wouldn't have a job. But we're very, very busy because a lot of these programs are very complicated. So we appreciate what we do. We have a passion for helping our veterans. Aaron, we're lucky to have him. The county's lucky to have him. He historically, when I was hired, Greg Remus, who I relieved, told me it'd take about 5 years to get proficient in the job. And I kind of went, yeah, I've got a lot of experience. I can do this. It took about 5 years. Aaron's on the fast track right now. I anticipate him that, he's been doing claims for almost a year now. And one of the things when I did hire Aaron, I understood what his abilities were, but I underestimated his tenacity and his ability to learn and desire to help others. So again, Aaron's, we're a partnership in the office, and we really appreciate him.
And Aaron, did you say, what was the dollar amount for the Hubbard County veterans?
So that's the SSAP State Soldiers Assistance Fund, 37,000.
Oh, yeah, but there was something in the millions that,
27.4 million. So all of the compensation claims that we do,
Yep.
as well as getting veterans signed up for healthcare, as well as getting them care in the community, all of that goes into a GDX number, they call it in the VA, and that's our county's number for FY22.
okay, thank you.
Rough estimate, when you take a look at what our budget is, for every dollar spent, our office is able to bring in about $158 in the benefits within the community. Now, it may not directly come to the county, but it goes to paying rent, it goes to local gas, groceries, and medical expenses here. So we're really proud of that number.
Do you see a lot of roadblocks or obstacles at the state and federal level being removed in order to make it easier to make a claim, or perhaps more simplistic?
I wouldn't say it's getting more simplistic. If anything, it's such a complicated system. But they are making it easier for vets to just get online and do their own claims. However, what we've seen with that is they don't know what they're doing, so it ends up, they're coming to us after they've already filed a claim. Now we have to appeal it, which is even more complicated process, and we have to get bigger people involved, and it takes a whole lot more time. So I think they're heading in the right direction. However, there still needs to be a lot of work done.
And I think on the state and the federal level, they forget that Hubbard County is a retirement community, and a lot of these individuals are not computer proficient. And we've expressed that displeasure on our quarterly meetings or bi-monthly meetings when you go over to federal, when we talk to the regional office, or we're on the state or federal level when we're talking to them at our trainings. And we let them know, you're forgetting a generation here. So again, that's what's important, that we're here to assist those individuals to make sure that they know what they're doing.
Have you seen the demographic change?
With regards
The
to,
age of coming in for claims, to make
We've
claims?
seen a shift in the last year.
Okay.
and I'm gonna pat Aaron's back a little bit, being a younger veteran, and you may not think it, but he's a younger veteran. He's bringing in a lot of the younger veterans into the community. The federal programs for the post 9/11, I think that really helped. And then on the state level with the veterans bonus,
Yep.
also is getting those individuals into our office. So I think that's actually quite brilliant to bring those people in there. It's kind of a carrot. Hey, apply for these funds, and then, oh, by the way, go see your veteran service officer. So I think that's really good. So they're thinking about it. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like that you're using other programs because there's so many other services out there. And why try to reinvent the wheel when there's somebody else out there already doing it
Exactly.
very well?
I think we're unique as well is those other organizations have the ability and the time to vet these individuals. I truly believe in giving a hand up, not a hand out.
Yep.
And when we submit them to Mojave, that they have a venting process, or we submit them to Salvation Army, or Living in Home, or even St. Joseph's Health. The Disabled American Veterans give grants for veterans to assist in some of their medical programs that the VA may not cover, or because of logistical difficulties getting over to Fargo, we can handle this locally. It's great that we're able to partner with those organizations.
Okay, thank you, Jerry and Aaron.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, next on the agenda is the attorney.
Yep, Commissioners, this is Jason Ness, he is the new transit supervisor, we met in the
Oh.
hallway, just kind of so for employee recognition. He started, with us yesterday, as a new transit supervisor.
Well, welcome. Welcome, appreciate it. I didn't recognize you when you came in the door
I was
there.
gonna say you're at a disadvantage. I've seen you over the last few months via the video, but you have not seen me.
You'll have to introduce
I've been growing a
yourself.
beard the whole time, if you were wondering.
You'll have to introduce yourself.
Jonathan Frieden, yeah, with a beard. So yeah, we're here to review the ordinance. Should we wait for Commissioner Christensen? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what
Okay.
yeah, let's wait, pause a moment.
Fair enough. Like to see the roof getting done, that's nice.
Yeah. Me too.
Glad I'm not doing it, but it's good to see it being done.
They've had a couple times of rain where they had to get it covered up, whatever parts they had exposed.
Picked a good couple weeks to be working.
Oh, shoot.
We waited for you.
I'm sorry, I just had, somebody needed services for Jerry.
All right, so I'll do just a quick intro. Obviously, from the prior meeting where this was brought up, the legislature did pass some new legislation that was effective August 1st. It did give most of the authority for regulation to the Cannabis Board, that is a state agency, while giving local government entities, counties being included, some authority to regulate. This particular draft ordinance does fall in line with what the state has granted as authority, regulating reasonably time, place, and manner of sale and use. At the last meeting, it was brought up, the 1,000 feet versus the 500 feet. Delving into that, this new draft from the last meeting is 500 across the board, whether it be a church, school, or daycare provider. It's consistent on all of those. I know there was a question as to what the state had as far as restrictions and what other counties. I don't know if it ever actually came up what other counties do on this issue. I can tell you that the state doesn't look specifically at this. They're kind of a more broader view. So they're looking at prisons, restricting from prisons, hospitals, that type of a thing. Other counties kind of run the gambit. 500, 1,000 feet is common. It's also common for other counties, especially our surrounding counties, to not actually put in a specific number, but just say the board can take it into consideration and deny it, regardless of how close it is. Whether it be 1,500 feet or 50 feet from a particular location. The county board just has the authority to take it into consideration and deny an application. So it kind of runs the gambit on what other counties do. The question for you, of course, is what you feel is appropriate. Questions?
One question I would have, Jonathan, is if we do lower it to 500 feet,
Sure.
Our current alcohol licensing thing is at 1,000 feet.
It is.
So I would look to try and make them consistent.
We can definitely do an amendment it wouldn't take a ton to get it in front of the board on making that 500 as well, if that's what the board would like to see.
Yeah, I'd like them to be consistent myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to do a public meeting for that, too.
Oh, yeah.
Notice of intent and public hearing, yep, to amend an ordinance.
Jonathan,
Yeah.
Jerry Scoville actually sent me a link or a little bit of the bill, and it doesn't say anything about, they're talking about from a school, daycare, residential treatment facility, public park, stuff like that, athletic fields, but they don't mention anything about a church. Do you think that's going to be an issue? I don't have an issue with it, but do you think the state's going to come back and say anything?
No, I don't, and that is well taken. But no, I don't think. I think it falls into a specific category that can be regulated. The states. I suppose the Attorney General's office could take an action to declare this unconstitutional or without authority from the state. But I do not foresee that being an issue. No.
And I guess my feeling too is that if it's not going to be till 2025 before adult licenses are going to be available, I'm thinking between now and then, the state's going to be sending out hopefully more guidelines. But I think this is a really good start.
And it'll be that Cannabis Board that hopefully will really write out this code in a understandable. So this is where we're at.
Jonathan, you mentioned other counties, and I hate asking questions I don't know the answer to, but what counties in our area have already either passed or are considering similar ordinances?
I don't think, and I can't speak to, our adjacent counties, none have passed anything regarding the licensing issue of where the retail establishments can be. And that makes sense given, there's not going to be any licenses issued for a little bit of time. We're just doing it ahead of time. The use of marijuana has been passed, and I can't recall off the top of my head which ones have and which ones have not passed the not public use part of the ordinance. It's getting to, there's a number of them who have.
Several of them at
Yeah, I
MRC
just can't recall who they are.
passed.
Yeah.
And I think that's more cities that are doing that.
I would say that's been what I've seen as well. The cities have taken quicker action on that issue.
There were several counties at MRC that have too.
Yep.
Very similar.
Any more questions from the board? Not? What would would the board like to do? We have a motion?
For a public hearing?
No, I think it would be a motion to
So this is
approve or not
ready
approve.
because it's a public- Okay, then
We've already had this, so.
Okay, so I have a comment, because this was brought up at the public hearing. My husband and I were riding bike a week ago at Perham, and they actually, because it was brought up, will people get to smoke wherever? Perham had signs up at their public parks that there was no tobacco use allowed. I thought that was interesting.
And there isn't under the Clean Air Act, Minnesota Clean Air Act. It's,
So we just haven't posted that.
yeah,
This-
it's a violation of that act. And that's true for the trail too. Public places, you can't smoke. That's been true for a number of years now. Whether it's enforced or not is a very different question.
Right.
Yeah.
And this ordinance that we have that we may approve this morning has the setback changes in it.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
So do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it passes.
I think that's all I had for today for you, unless you had any questions for me, not related to this.
Good to have you back.
I appreciate that. It's good to be back. It's good to see all of you.
One comment, nice beard.
I appreciate it. You won't see it next time. My wife won't allow it.
I have one comment just for the media's sake, because a lot of people aren't familiar with all this. This is what we've been granted from the state to regulate. We haven't been granted whether, we haven't been granted licensing, and we haven't been granted to opt out. So our hands are tied. This is what we're limited to.
And agreed, and to just kind of go a little bit further on that point, because there are strong opinions across the board on this issue. The state did not allow us the opt-out option, which is very common when we're talking about intoxicating substances. I think this may be the first time I've seen that they have not allowed that.
And we're the only state in the United States that hasn't
Yeah.
been given that option.
So this is the extent of what could be regulated
Yep.
locally.
There is some rationale behind that. I mean, if you go to Colorado and, you can go to Manitou Springs and you can use and whatever, but the minute you go to
You walk 2 feet and you're,
Colorado
Yeah.
Springs proper, boom. So it creates a lot of confusion for people when you're
That's a
skipping
fair point.
all over the state to different counties or different cities and jurisdictions, and it's different in every one.
Jonathan, do you know of any dry counties in Minnesota where they don't allow alcohol?
I believe there are, but, well, not counties. There are definitely dry jurisdictions, but I do not know of any dry counties, no.
I remember
That's kind of a pretty nuclear option for a county, but it's not for a particular city, for instance,
I remember
which
as
there are
a
a number.
kid, I remember hearing this county's dry or whatever, and I didn't understand what they were talking about at the time, but
There were a number that opted out at the beginning, that is for sure. Yeah.
And just to clarify, the motion would be to approve the ordinance and for it to be effective on the date of publication. I always have to add that because it
Okay.
isn't
Yes.
effective until we actually publish it.
Good seeing everybody.
Okay, thank you. Jed, you next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
A few things for you today. We will start with review and approve bid for project SP 029-613-012. This is our CSAH 13 bridge replacement south of Nevis. We opened bids a little while back. This is a federally funded project, so it takes a little bit of time to get to this point. And so we received 3 bids with Redstone Construction out of Mora, Minnesota was the low bid with $1,510,668.40. Had a little error in the bidding with one of the unit prices of Garrett Hansen Construction, so unfortunately for that company, it placed their bid significantly higher. There wasn't this much of a spread with the original calculation, but the specs call for us to use unit pricing, not the calculation of the number. So with unit pricing, it bumped it up. So unfortunately for them, but Redstone Construction is still a very good company. We worked with them before, so no problem recommending that. The only thing with this is we cannot award the project today, but you can accept a low quote moving forward contingent upon the state's approval to award the project. So that'll be our recommendation.
I'll make the motion to accept the low quote from Redstone Construction for the bridge.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes.
Very good, thank you. Second on the agenda, review and approve quote for a highway department service truck chassis. This is a truck that's been in our budget for a couple of years, and we have struggled to have the availability to order this size of a chassis. We're actually looking for a Ford F-550 on this, which then a service truck box will be installed at a later date, so that will come similar to our plow trucks. You do the chassis under one, and then we have the plow equipment. This would be the same thing. We'll order the chassis now, get that going, and then move to a service truck quote after. And so we solicited 2 quotes on this. Low is Boyer Trucks out of Minneapolis, $67,333.86. We also solicited a local quote. And so as you can see, the state contract pricing is a little bit lower there, a couple $1,000s lower. And without having any varying reasons, that would be our recommendation, is to go with the low quote under the state contract.
They didn't give you any anticipated delivery date, did they?
They did, yeah.
They did?
18 to 24 weeks. So
That's good.
it's not bad. We'll take it. At least we can order it, get it in the queue, and it gives us a little bit of time too to line up that service body. So the service body will have, all of the compartments. It'll have the crane on it. It'll have the welder, air compressor, and whatnot. So I would guess that'll be a similar price to this. I think we have budgeted for a couple of years right around 140,000, 150,000 for the total package. So.
Well, I think your replacement is long overdue.
It is long
I know
overdue, yeah.
that.
We're replacing the 2001. I hear about it quite often. So, yeah, we got our money out of that other one.
So then will you put this in auction, or what will you do?
I'd be surprised if this maybe doesn't go to maybe another different department that doesn't use it quite to the capacity we
Josh
do.
wants
So,
it.
yeah. So, we don't have the details on that, but I think we'll probably keep it around, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll move to accept the low quote.
all right, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes.
Very good, thank you. Third, review and approve updated prioritized bridge replacement list resolution. Typically, this comes to you in January. We do it on an annual basis, and it's kind of an update based upon what our last inspections revealed on the condition of our bridges and which ones need to be funded in the next 5 years. But there's been a little bit of change this year. We've been working a little bit with Mantrap Township. They have a location on Island View Drive that I believe Commissioner Karen can attest to. It's a difficult road. It's a difficult crossing for them, and so when they got into talks with a consultant, it appears as now that they're going to, after the hydraulic analysis and risk assessment, they're going to classify this as probably a bridge replacement, which could be a bridge, it could be a box culvert that's at least 10 feet wide. All of that qualifies as a bridge, and so we are expecting that that's going to be the replacement that is recommended following that. And as a result of that, things change downstream. And what we have downstream under CSAH 24 is a larger arch pipe, which would have to be probably replaced then with a bridge as well. And so in order for us to qualify for certain funding, we have to have those 2 locations identified on our prioritized bridge list. So that's why you see those 2 additions without a bridge number, without an LPI. And so we estimate what the cost for replacement would be, and that puts us in line then for town bridge, special town bridge for the Island View Drive, and also bridge bonding and CSAH funding for the CSAH 24. So we anticipate those coming through with a replacement as early as next year if the funding is available. And so this is a formality to get it on the list so we can qualify for the funding.
I think just,
To approve the changes.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right, did you have a question or comment?
No, I was just gonna comment that I think this is gonna improve that waterway overall. It's been restricted for so many years, not only at 24, but at Island View Drive as well.
Right.
So it's really gonna be helpful, I think.
Yeah, and this is the first step, as you know, into doing a more permanent fix on Island View Drive as well. It's a difficult road, as I mentioned right away, with the soils in that area, coming through kind of a lake area, swampy area. It's just tough. The base is just not good. So this is our first step, and if we can get this crossing taken care of, then the township can look at further work.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, it passes.
Okay, and give you a little project update. Not a lot left going. CSAH 7 north of Dorset is moving along very well with Anderson Brothers Construction. The reclaiming is done. They have built out the turn lanes. They have a couple subcut areas that are left to do, and they'll be widening that grade and preparing for probably bituminous as early as next week. I think they're pouring some of the curb and gutter today. And so, yeah, I think that one will be finished up much earlier than anticipated. The other project we've got is the bridge out to Beltane. Was out there yesterday. Looks like they've got just about all of the sheet piling in, so they'll start putting the pumps in to get that hole dried out. They'll remove the bridge and get going on the construction too. So hopefully that one doesn't drag on. That's a tough area too. Not a lot of room to work. Got to stay out of the water as much as they can and stuff. So I think the contractor's doing a nice job, but they are going to end up closing that road down for one day.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
So we talked to the township, we talked to the consultant, made sure that they're gonna have proper communication with the residents out there, make sure that there's a way to get to and from if need be, or stay out of the area, whichever it is. But yeah, it'll force a day closure, which that wasn't the initial plan, but I think it'll be workable.
Is there any sidewalk work being done by Zorba's? You know,
Nope.
be north of 50 there?
No,
nothing?
we're extending the curb and gutter there. We got some issues as it comes around on CSAH 50 around that corner. And then we pull it up the hill on the other side too, and that will all run down into the same storm scepters that we had installed when we did the bridge by Zorba's.
Okay.
But yeah, no, they'll have a nice wide parking area too to come up the hill like they do anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no sidewalk. And then a couple others, prior to the meeting, we heard that the 34 project is, it sounds like it's completely paved. You should see that detour probably coming off pretty soon. And I was informed this morning that they're hoping to take the detour off for the tunnel construction up on 71 tomorrow morning.
Oh.
So that would be great.
We got a picture from Eric.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Okay, that's all I've got.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Corey.
This is the hot seat. All right, good morning. This, just one thing on our list here is to review and approve 13 timber sales appraisals that our foresters have set up for the fourth quarter timber auction. The 13 sales cover 511 acres approximately, and an estimated volume of 6,884 cords of aspen, birch, maple, oak, pine, spruce, and small amounts of other species. I believe about a third of the sales are pine thinnings to enhance the growth of the residual pine. So the total appraised value before the auction is $167,454.54. So it'll be a decent sized auction, and timber prices are still going pretty good. So hoping for the best. So just looking to get the sale approved, and we will have the auction Monday, October 9th at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a second? Any more questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
All right, thank you.
Corey, I have a comment.
Okay.
So Dave and Tom and I were at the AMC, and you were there too, I guess? Okay, so I can't remember what county it was, but was it Hennepin? They're still selling property, tax forfeited
Sure.
property, and then they're just putting the money into a fund?
Sure. Yep.
So I pass it on for information in case we would want to move ahead with tax forfeited property at all.
That was in my report section.
Oh, is it?
You
Okay.
got it, okay.
Okay,
No
yeah.
problem.
But something to
Sure.
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about.
Yep, so we got, a kind of a notice from the Department of Revenue, and they said we can sell, but put it into an escrow account. But it's hard to tell because market values change so much. Do we hold on to it or do we sell it now? Or it's something to think about, and we can definitely keep having auctions, but it would go into a escrow account. So.
And if you don't have any of these timber sales, they're not in properties that could fall in that category.
No, no. And I would suggest we hold off until next summer, but it's up to you. Just simplify things a little bit so we don't have funds out there with money we're digging into in the future. So
We've identified several properties, I think, that we were
Yeah,
looking to do. The interest is still high. I don't know what it'll be 6 months from now.
yeah, yep,
Is the question.
yep, exactly.
yeah, there's one lake property that
Yep,
probably got a very good value to it.
yep, and
Is that the one we were considering to put the
Well,
campground on?
but then there's two lake properties, yeah, there's that one that we were
Sure.
considering as a
Yeah.
campground, but there's the one on Boulder Lake. Boulder Lake.
yep, and just so you guys know, if the more we sell something for, that might be more we have to give back to the forfeited landowner too. So
Right. The flip side, though, is the longer they sit as tax forfeited
Yep.
land, they don't generate any tax revenue.
yep, exactly. Yep,
That's why
yep,
I they're just
yep,
going ahead with their sales.
yep, yep.
Going
No,
ahead with it 'cause
that-
it puts them back into
oh yeah,
productive use.
yep, exactly. So,
That's why I was wondering if those two high value properties might
Yeah.
benefit more by selling them sooner than later.
yep, yep, and I can talk to Kay and we can talk about that too.
I guess I don't have a problem, leaving the money in a fund if we think it's a good time to do it.
And I'd be interested in what properties you were planning to sell this year,
Sure.
and then we could look and,
Yep. Okay. Yeah. I believe there was 7 properties that went forfeited this year and 2 people have bought them back. So
Would that escrow account be earning interest?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that.
I would think.
Could figure it out.
well, I would think so, that'd probably be a K question, but you could just
Mhm.
open up a separate account at the bank.
Yep.
So then we may not be generating, well, we would be then generating property tax plus possibly some interest.
Mhm.
Well, maybe put together a little something for us to consider the
Yeah.
next time.
Sounds good. It would be nice to get them higher value parcels off the list and back on the tax roll. So, just a lot of legislative stuff going on, and hoping they'll figure it out.
And who knows, it might generate new construction in the county, which would be a tax benefit also.
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
all right, thank you for it.
Thanks. Hopefully, I'll know more next time.
All right. All right, Josh, solid waste.
Good morning.
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 All right, so the one action item I have for you this morning is item that we had at our last board meeting to approve quotes for electrical work at one of our buildings. At the last meeting, we approved the quote to go with ARE LLC out of Nevis. They were not able to we were not able to move forward with that quote due to some licensing issues with them. So we'd like to award the project to the next low quote, which would be Avonson Electric of Park Rapids.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Right,
Right, and then really quick, I was just gonna update you, we did start our construction project at the South Landfill covering with that cover project. That started yesterday, and, I think they'll be moving pretty fast, lots of equipment moving out there, so that'll be good. We probably will have some change orders, just so you guys know. we have some, they had to move some material that wasn't in the original bid specs, and then also we might have a little bit larger of an area that we can cover since they're on site. We have the liner material already for it, so I think it would make sense to, depending on what their pricing is, to do that additional work to get a little bit more covered than the 3.8 acres that we had in our bids. So since they're there and have the equipment and they'll have the contractors there, so. And other than that, yeah, so that's all I had, so.
You should speak about how you spoke with the legislators, you and John Steiner.
Oh, yeah,
from the county.
on Thursday, last Thursday, John Steiner and I did a presentation at Bemidji State University, discussing our 9-county demo project. That was with the Minnesota House Capital Investment Committee, so I think that went very well. Yeah, I think it was good. We were able to show them legislators kind of the need for our project, and overall, I think it was a really good trip, so.
You know, one of the legislators had commented about not such localized projects or something like that. Well, if you've got 9 counties that are looking at a project, I don't think that's local. I think that's spreading it out over 9 counties. I hope that bodes well for your grant
Yep.
application. And
So, yeah.
thank you.
At the AMC Policy Conference, in Environmental Committee, getting a larger percent of that SCORE money is one of the top priorities that was voted on. So hopefully we'll get more of it.
Yeah, I think that's another, priority to keep pushing, and then also kind of in relation to that is, and I think maybe John had mentioned it at, no, I don't know if he did. Maybe it was after the last advisory board meeting, but reworking, maybe trying to push to rework how that solid waste management tax is collected for material that ends up being pulled out of the recycling system at the incinerator at the resource recovery facility. So I think there might be some legislation that our solid waste group will push through AMC to try to get some additional state tax money or tax backs. So.
He talked about being taxed on stuff that was being recycled.
Yep.
Basically is what it comes down to.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, Fred.
Good morning. So yeah, today I come to get approved. We're looking at some cybersecurity and basically looking at some other software that basically helps for any of our security. Our firewall, we have a state firewall, we have our internal firewall, pretty much to try and our security threats from outside coming in that's one thing that we can we're pretty strong on, so that there it's our security from internal here that kind of looking at, and talked to a lot of the other counties and stuff, and most of them have implemented this already. This is a software that I'm familiar with from working with another company and stuff out there. And one of the things it does is basically get an email and stuff like that there. That's where we have a potential threat. One click can basically mean different software into our network. We have people VPN and stuff like that. And just making people more aware with this software, some real quick little trainings and stuff like that there, but really informative and really kind of showing them that that is our biggest threat right now is us in here and what what we're doing. Also, just different things with some of the training will be to let them know any type of other people too. I mean, we have people at homes that are dialed into our network. There's people working from all different environments and stuff out there where simply a USB drive into their computer and our VPN can jeopardize us. So just letting people aware of that there. Also the phishing, the different software here was also where, for example, you're looking at an email and you're like, geez, is this the email I should click on? Is this actually viable or not? It's just a one click, sends it to us, we take and review it. And if it's a potential threat email, whatever, we can basically make that we'll notify you that it was a definite, security threat of an email, but then also we can have it so it wipes out the rest of anybody else getting that in our department. We'll basically secure that, and it would actually go and pull it right out of your inbox too, if you'd already had it and hadn't looked at it. So the software also will recognize, basically through the training and stuff out there, we'll be sending out just different little emails that'll come to you looking, kind of to make you more aware of too. You might see one, you click on it and you're like, oh, this looks like it's from, Jeff or something like that there. You click on it, like, yeah, but if you looked on the URL up there, it was from Zimbabwe or something like that. Just a different thing. And that's how they're getting into it. They can make these things look really good and stuff like that. And it's so easy just to click on it without looking first and really taking a little bit more time to make sure it's not a threat. And this comes to us, we get 2-3 a day, people calling saying, hey, can you check this email out? I clicked on all these things and it's not really going anywhere, but is it a security threat? Did I, compromise my computer and stuff? So we're getting people asking that after they've already clicked on things. It's just like, is this something that was legit? Did I miss something here? And most of the people that actually are quick to click on things are generally people that are getting the most work done, and are probably some of our most actively trying to get their job done and stuff, and don't have time to really kind of go over things, or don't feel like they do. So that's why I'm recommending to get this software up and going, and so it's just kind of one point to start off with on trying to address our security and stuff like that for our internal IT department. So
I would just, in the notes here, just remind the board that Hubbard County was given a 33% discount on top of the 20% 3-year discount.
Yep.
And then I appreciated the other counties that you had listed that were using this, and I'll move to approve.
Yeah, the big discount, you can see that I checked with the other company that came in, and there was another company too that sent me a just kind of a semi-quote, whatever. It was kind of the same thing around that 20,000. And KnowBe4 is MNCCC. They were at the conference and stuff too. And I just listed part of the counties. Most of them have this software and stuff. So yeah, the big discount in there, it is a discount. They're the only MNCCC rated security with this. So yeah.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, Gina.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Before you with Human Resources is a request for an MOU with the AFSCME bargaining group. We have currently a vacant maintenance technician 2 position that we have tried recruiting for and have not made a filling of that position. So to go back to the drawing board and table and take a look at what we possibly can do. And because of licensing that is required of the maintenance technician 2 position in the job description of boiler license, the amount of period of time that it takes to get the certain licensures through the process, we looked back at bringing in and trying to do a maintenance technician 1 position, where then we can career track that to the maintenance technician 2. Through our classification process, when we completed that, we did not have a maintenance technician 1. So creating a job description and needing to have that classified, there was compression in our system, meaning our custodian is at grade 5 and the maintenance technician 2 is at a grade 6. So to fit the grade 1 in there wasn't gonna, or to fit the maintenance technician 1 in there wasn't gonna fit. So DDA reviewed the job description, and due to the compression, they are stating that the custodian would remain at a grade 5. We would have the job description of the maintenance technician 1 at a grade 6, and the maintenance technician 2 would move to a grade 7. Reviewing and discussing with the AFSCME business representative, they prefer things of this nature to be done via an MOU. So I drafted the MOU that was attached and sent that to Jeff as chief negotiator for review and the union business rep for review as well. The original that was attached to your documents had an item number 4 that the union said to remove, so I did that. There was no issues with that. So the original, the document should be only items 1 through 3 of the MOU. So once we have the approval of this, we'll be able to recruit. We will recruit for both positions, maintenance technician 1 or a maintenance technician 2, because the technician 2 went up in wage as well too. But we will fill only in the complement of 1. And we make that clear in our advertising and in our recruitment and selection for the applicants as well. As stated in there as well too, and what the intent of the county is, and the union wanted the clarity of that as well too, our full intent is that this person will need to career track to the technician 2. That is what the business need of the county is. Someone can't come in at a 1 and just say, oh, well, I kind of like it here, and I don't want to have to go get that license. That's not, they have a certain period of time that they have to obtain that licensure within. So the request is to approve the MOU, and then we'll be able to move forward with recruitment.
What will be that period of time?
I'm sorry?
What will be that period of time?
To
get the
the
license.
licensure is within 1 year.
Okay. And that they have to do that on their own then,
It would be through the county.
through the county?
Yeah, yeah.
So who's currently taking care of the boiler then if we don't have anyone?
We have 2 licensed boilers right now, the facilities maintenance manager, Bobby, and then we have another maintenance technician too, Steve. So they both have the licensure.
So what happens if this, if we hire somebody as a maintenance technician 1 and they do not get the licensure?
Then they wouldn't meet the qualifications of the position.
Okay.
So they'd have to start like within the 6-month probation period, or?
Yeah, we'd get started, yeah,
Right
they'd
away.
get started right away. A lot would, and we verbiage it, a lot will depend on when class and things are offered as well too. It's like in the job description, we say it's within 1 year hire or as determined by the facilities maintenance manager. Well, if a class isn't gonna be held 1 year and 1 month, we put a notation in the file that due to, training, scheduling, things of that nature, there's a documentation to support why that period of time was extended.
Okay. Any more questions? Got a
Well,
motion?
just a comment, this is another example, we're having trouble filling positions. And so you guys have vetted this and done the background work and found the best solution that will serve the county.
And I like the idea of career tracking
Yes.
your employees up to
Yes.
higher positions. Okay, we need a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes. All right, Jeff?
So as we discussed at the work session last week, we're bringing forward a recommendation of a preliminary levy increase of 6.8%, which is 3.8% capturing new tax capacity and 3% general increase. And that would be a levy of $20,400,000. Again, this is a starting point. We can only come down from here. We can't go up from here. I should have tax impacts before you in the next couple of weeks. We'll be able to run those impacts. Kay was working on setting rates and getting all that done, and she's got to get that done by the end of, I think, by the 30th. So we have to have that before we can do estimating impacts. Yeah, so this is just a continuation of the conversation. And also, the motion would be to set the Truth and Taxation meeting for Thursday, December 7th at 6 o'clock PM.
December 7th?
Yep.
Okay, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, AMC is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4, 5, and 6. So last year we had it on the Thursday after AMC at 6 o'clock. So that's the recommendation, is the same date, different day, same day, different date.
Yeah, and then going along with that, so we weren't gonna do a work session, we were just gonna do 2 board meetings, I think, in December, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep.
okay.
I think
Oh,
that's
that
what we
would
did
be-
last year.
That was my question.
Is
since
we would not,
AMC
we would not
occurs
have a
during
meeting
that.
on the, we would not have a meeting on the 5th, but we would have a meeting on the 12th and the 19th.
Yeah, because sometimes we've done truth and taxation the night of the board meeting, but I'm fine with the 7th.
That first Tuesday meeting, have we already moved that one, or is it still?
I have to look. We have not moved it yet? Okay, so, two things.
We can accomplish that today, too, then.
Yep, we could do that
Yeah.
today.
Okay. That amount that's in yellow, that 366, that's the cuts we need to get to the 6.8%.
Yes,
So if we want to go even lower than 6.8%, we got to do better than that amount.
yes, at this point.
Okay.
And I intend to provide you updates as we go through, as we have October, November, we have 2 months, 2.5 months of working on this. We're waiting for some state money that was appropriated one time this year for public safety. And when that comes in, and I know that it's here, I have some recommendations that I'll work with Sheriff Akis on his budget for '24. And I think that will have some impacts there. So there's some possibilities, some things will change there. And then there are 2 other adjustments that I'm aware of, so that that 366 is really, if you look at the use of fund balance in the general fund, you can see that we're showing adding to the fund balance in the general fund and needing to cut $366,000. So that 366 is really only $65,000 that we're short of adjustments we need to make. But one of the, if we need a 42 to 50% fund balance for our operating activities, we should be thinking about adding to the fund balance every year. So I want to get the final fund balance numbers from Kay. We did the August financials just came out earlier this week. I want to run through that before I make a recommendation on whether or not we need to show that. In this year, I don't think we do this year, because I think we're still at that 50% or better on fund balances. But I want to look at that before I make a recommendation. So it is my recommendation that I ask you to approve the 6.8% now. There's several things going on that means that number probably can come down before we approve finally in December. 1% is $200,000.
Oh, it's 200, it was 191. So
Well, it's $191,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you go line by line, I believe we can reach this. Because maybe I think there's a few that I found that are, the estimate from the department heads were just maybe a little high on maybe just one particular item. And I think we can get there.
Go ahead, finish. I was gonna say, get there, meaning,
Get there to even coming down even less from 6.8%.
oh, yeah, there's room.
Yep.
There's room. I was gonna bring 6.3%, but I didn't wanna change my materials.
Yeah,
I know we can get to that without making any major changes.
And last year it was so high that I wanted one that was even less, just to force a change. But 6.8%, I think, is a good place to be.
Yeah, I'll always recommend capturing all the new tax capacity, which is 3.8, and then it's really a matter of how much of a general increase that we need. And again, the big driver here is we're looking at needing $985,000 more to run public safety. We're actually looking at a decrease in the general fund, in the general operations for this year. Highway we talked about, I don't think that there's much moving there. Social services, we can review a few of those assumptions, but we've already challenged those assumptions. We've increased our revenue forecasts, and again, remember, we usually model our wages at 100% of the scheduled FTE, and we modeled in social services at 97%. Good, bad, or indifferent, we always have positions open. So we never hit 100% of our budgeted amount in salaries in social services. We always have positions open in law enforcement too, but we have to cover those shifts, so we always have overtime, so we're always overspending that budget.
So do you have any concern, looking ahead the next year or two with using 1.2 million of the fund balance? I mean, that's about 10% or 5% of our proposed levy. I mean, if all of a sudden then you could end up 5% below where you want to be with your fund balances, that all of a sudden next year or the year after, you might have to increase 5% to get your fund balances where you want them.
Yep. Well, this use of fund balance 518 for public safety is assuming that we're going to use the capital dollars to fund the projects that they've requested. So that's not really coming out of fund balance. That's taking next year's collections against that. So that's a very good question. Highway is a planned use of fund balance. They're recommending that they have that ability. Social services is showing a planned use of fund balance, but that fund balance also includes the dedicated money that we've committed this year against those positions that they're asking for. And solid waste use of fund balance is not really a use of fund balance because they're showing carrying funds from 23 into 24. So their actual use of fund balance is a $40,000 contribution. So when I look at these two, it's really $900,000, not $1.2 million. What's it? Yeah, it's these two numbers combined is what our actual fund balance would be. We're not looking at pinging the general fund balance, which is why I want to get those latest numbers and present that to you in October. I'll bring Kay and we'll have a conversation. Two things we owe you. The fund balance, the numbers on the staffing, which I just got from Gina yesterday, and then an update on our investments, how they've been going for the last 3-4 months. So we'll have that on the agenda for the first meeting in October.
And then an update to the whole board on heritage.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, we can get to any number in any particular year. It's just, what's that gonna do to you later?
Yep.
You really have to look ahead a couple of years to make sure you don't make a foolhardy move.
So I'm asking to start here. Kay likes round numbers. She's okay with 20.4.
Yeah, she does like round numbers.
She doesn't like 20.396. So we're kind of tongue in cheek joking with that on her. But I fully anticipate that if we capture the 3.8% of new tax capacity, we can have a conversation about is it 1%, 2%, or 3% of additional. And we'll get you the information so you can make good decisions based on that. But you need to know our current fund balance and the ability to use some of that against this. We want to test, and I know that we're having conversations still with social services about the positions that they've got requested. So we do have room to move on this, and we have lots of discussion left to have. Mostly setting it at 6.8 now, or whatever you decide to set it at, and setting that date gives us the information to prepare the materials for the truth in taxation and to prepare the materials to go out with the tax statements. Somehow or another, the number that you set to date is the number we use in those calculations so that people know what we're proposing and that they know that it can only come down from there, it can't go up from there. So those preliminary statements, those estimations of taxes for 24 would be made off of whatever number you give us today.
Any more comments, questions? Well then, are we ready to vote on this or make a motion?
I'll move to approve the preliminary 2024 levy at $20,400,000.
Okay.
Just 6.8%.
And set the date for the TNT.
December 7th.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion?
One question, so was that at 7 o'clock, you said? For truth in-
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought, okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. And then we need another motion to move
Make a motion to amend the,
first Tuesday.
to
of December.
amend the December schedule,
Yeah, I'll move.
And to what?
cancel
So-
the meeting on December 5th, and have a
Regular
regular
board
meeting on December 12th.
Yep, so there's not a work session.
Okay, so we
I
have
will
the
move to
one
approve
board
that.
meeting in December then,
No, the 12th and the 19th.
12th and 19th.
We're not-
Okay,
We're not changing the 19th, we're canceling the 5th and changing the work session to a regular meeting.
okay, got it.
So moved.
Oh, I did
Oh,
move.
you did? Okay, I'll
Yep.
second them.
Gotta write this down. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that got changed. Make sure you get the calendars right. What's left? Committee reports. Who wants the honors of first?
I guess I
Ed,
can start. I've
you
got a
wanna-
couple
okay.
here.
All right.
Had Foston, the incinerator in Foston there last week. As Josh kind of mentioned today, that though some of the meeting involved planning for a meeting with the legislators to try to get some dollars for the 9-county hub and spoke concept. The state basically hasn't done anything, so we've got to get going, because at some point, they're not allowing unlined landfills anymore, and the talk is that they'll be closing down some of the unlined ones. Let's see, mixed solid waste is down a little bit, but not much, only about 1,000 pounds year to date. Self-haul was also down a little bit, and recycling was down a little bit. Markets for recyclables is also down a little bit. We're not at historic lows, but we're at 63 cents a pound for aluminum, $50 a ton for cardboard, which the historic low was $35. $110 a ton for loose metals, $105 per ton for bagged metals. Last year, that was $500 a ton, excuse me. And the number one, plastic, is at $118. That ranged from anywhere historically from $70 to $795. So the 118, we're down at the low end. Same with number two, plastic, was $145 a ton. That's been as low as $54 a ton and as high as $2,200 a ton. Glass is $10 a ton, but we're using that for cover on the landfill in Gentry. Paper is down to $10 a ton. Let's see. Steam sales are down. We got some of the, let's see, is it down $250,000 actually from previous years. Landfill tonnage is up. We looked at robots. We've got one in operations now. And videos and sales pitches that we've had in the past, they're showing robots with these arms that are grabbing things and putting them in different bins or whatever. The one we're currently using is basically just an air nozzle. So the big computer part of it is the optical scanner. So it's scanning what's coming down the belt. And the belt had to kind of be redesigned so that everything's going down the middle of it. And basically, the optical scanner senses something, and on the video that we were seeing demonstrated for what's being actually used in Foston there, it was number one plastic, so everything that wasn't number one plastic, there was a burst of air, and it pushed that particle, whether it was a piece of garbage or like some of the foam, styrofoam stuff that you see from packed meat comes in, stuff like that, aluminum cans, so a simple concept that no moving parts in a sense to break down. They figure that air nozzle will last years, and when it does wear down, you have to buy a new air nozzle, which would be dollars instead of thousands of dollars type of a thing. So we're looking at increasing, maybe getting 3 more of those robots. There again, just like with everything, they're having trouble with, getting staff. And of course, the benefits of robots is they don't have sick days, they don't have PTO, they can run 24 hours a day. those types of things, those types of benefits. And I don't want to take jobs away from humans, but if you can't find anybody to do the positions, what's your alternative? The garbage is piling up, and this will make things go a lot smoother.
How accurate are those machines, Ted?
It was surprising. It was, what'd John say, 97%?
Really? Because I've seen the ones with the robotic arm that kind of just sucks
Yeah,
and moves a piece, and then the air ones too. And it's kind of interesting which ones would be better
yeah.
in certain situations, I'm sure.
And I want to say that it was better than human error. So the humans that are actually sorting stuff had a lower rate than that burst of air computerized thing. So it was,
And they don't argue with each other.
And I'm right back.
And
Can they separate different classes of plastic?
Yep.
Or
Well,
they
yeah.
can? They can? Oh.
so the optic, and that's the thing, the optical scanner is the big thing.
Yeah.
But I think where the problem comes in though is like clear plastics are usually number ones. And then they've got the colored plastics. And some of those, and we take 1 and 2, and if we could have set these up more, we could also do 5. But then you've got the 3, 4, and other plastics that really, there is no recycle markets for them. So that little triangular thing that shows recycling, it's kind of a fraud, because there's, like I say, they have different numbers of plastics, but they can't be recycled. So literally, it makes you feel good. Oh yeah, it's a number 7 plastic, you know, but it,
Yeah, it's amazing because of the resolution of the optics and then the algorithms and the computing power that you can actually differentiate between the types of plastics based on those
Yeah.
things. It's
I
come
think,
a long ways.
I think it was Josh that said, though, the reason we keep taking all of those is because if people get out of the habit and there gets to be a market.
Yep.
So it can be dealt with at Polk County or yeah,
yeah,
versus just being thrown, and plus then the tipping fees are different.
yeah, yeah. Let's see, they had some of the numbers, if I can read my own writing here. They were looking at $54,600 a year for the robot versus $43,848 a year, and that would be at $20 starting pay, which they pay more than that. And then also it doesn't, that $43,000 doesn't include benefits, sick pay, vacation, breaks, and like I say, they were 97%, and humans are at a little over 90% efficiency. Let's see. When they talked about the landfill there at Gentry, and they talked about, they got 3 out of the 4 permits, and the 4th one is supposed to be on its way. So we had it all planned out, but then the DNR had found this sage something or other endangered plant. And this where the landfill had been grazed, cattle had grazed on it for over 100 years. But now supposedly the DNR was classifying this as a natural environment. So that wetland area is not gonna be able to be used, but we did get, so we've added about 10 years to the landfill out there. But was originally for another 40 years. And now they were talking about moving the cells north, but I believe it was the Corps of Engineers were talking about a section that's even farther north, and they thought it would only take a year or 2 to be permitted because all the water and EPA and environmental studies have already been done up in this section, which was false. They were under the pretense that this was happening, but they were actually, all that stuff had been done at a lower area. So they're talking about moving the landfill up to here where it's actually, none of that's been done. That's like an 8 to 10 year approval process. Where so that all got kind of taken care of or figured out in a sense, as John was saying. So now we've got 3 out of the 4 permits. The 4th one is on its way. So we've kind of got, the next 10 years figured out, and we've also looking at building on top of that. this area up in the north that they're talking about has got a large gravel reserve. And I made the comment, well, couldn't we sell the gravel there and have some income? And then, once that gravel's out of there, you've got a bowl that would have to be lined, and then the new landfill up there. So that's way in the future. I probably won't be a commissioner when they get going on that kind of stuff. But, and that was, let's see. Yeah, and then they talked about the MPCA grants that they're trying to get, the $6 million for the 6 counties that already use the landfill. And then the 9 counties, which would be the hub and spoke, would be another 78 million. So they're trying to get 84 million from the state to move forward with these processes. So that's what I had on the solid waste. And then we had HRA last night. We had a quorum. Talked about, let's see if I can go off my memory here. Actually, my notes, maybe it'd even be better. It was a lot of good conversation, wanting to move forward with stuff. We talked about, and I actually talked to Jeff about this morning, and something I'm going to talk to Kay about. It was brought up that the HRA and their properties are paying the full amount of property taxes, but yet we're serving the low and very low income.
It's been looked at before, and I cannot remember why the state taxes, so go ahead.
Yeah.
If you can change it, that would be wonderful.
That's one thing. Jeff didn't think it was possible, and I kind of agree, you know, we don't usually give discounts. But as I recall, I think it was Sarah that mentioned with HRDC, she thought that there was some form that the Beltrami County HRA is filled out where they get a bit of a discount. But we're going to check into that. It's seriously, you know, if we're trying to provide a service and then we're being charged full bore, and what would the discount be? I mean, I can't remember. They had it broke down in all different sections, so I don't know what totally the HRA pays in property taxes. Let's see, we went over the budget. There's some areas that we think we're gonna remove because they're kind of duplicates where they have the individual apartments, buildings, and their budgets. And some of the items that we're looking at are included in there, but they're also included in the budget, so it's kind of being doubled up there. And then some other minor bookkeeping things, the signature cards at the bank. Open discussion, we talked about the website. They want to keep their own website versus going with the HRDC and just adding to their. The consensus of the board was that they want to have the website maybe be more user-friendly type of a thing and to try to get more programs available. We know with the HRDC and also with the state money that's now becoming available, but that there's a lot of new programs plus existing programs. And like Shar and I have been talked before, how do you get that word out to people that are in need? You know, I think that's with anything. When I first started on the Area Agency on Aging, I didn't realize all the programs and benefits that are available to people that are over 60 years old. And that's all your requirement, is to be 60 years or older. And I was 60 years and older at that point, and I had never heard of this stuff. I'm not in need, but if those people are, there's all sorts of stuff out there. But where do you find it? And let's see, and I guess that really covers it.
So if I could just add on a little bit, because we talked about, you know, contacting Mojave for Cornerstone funding. So I did that, and actually Mojave has dollars that could be used for Cornerstone, but the residents there would have to be under a Mojave program, and they currently are not. And so Ted and I talked. I reached out to Sarah and copied Ted on it to see if Sarah would contact them, because more importantly than the money to rehab Cornerstone is Mojave has programs that could propel these people forward to be successful long-term. also, we're waiting for a response back from Sarah to see if she would contact the people and put them in touch with Mojave.
I think it was a great idea.
Steve?
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot. I went to the Prime West meeting. That was more of a informational for me. I'm just trying to get that all figured out. But it was a good session. I'm glad I went. I'm gonna try to go again in the future, not try to do it by remotely. I feel there's value in showing up and actually talking about things.
It's a good place to network because there's so many
Yeah,
commissioners.
I was surprised at the number of people in the room. That really did surprise me. Then the only other thing I really did was the AMC policy conference and the transportation and infrastructure. You can expect your vehicle tax to go up. You can expect your license tabs to go up. You can, that's all it was increase. But there's the things that the transportation committee supports was the state is trying to implement a greenhouse gas mitigation plan for construction projects. And they're doing it, their proposal is on a project level. So they've got this pie in the sky number based on the size of the project and the work that has to be done, that it's going to emit X amount of greenhouse gas. So that project alone has to find a way to mitigate that. Well, that's going to increase costs. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But what AMC is going to support more is to do it on a program level across the state, not on a specific project. And there were some other technical parts of it that needed to be kind of cleaned up to really make it clear that basically, yes, AMC basically supports the construction, but also supports that they don't have a means to really track it to see if it truly makes an impact or not. So the idea was to support the process of finding out the proper means to mitigate it and the proper means to test that mitigation so that it can become a program level operation, not a project level operation. So something that happens in Shakopee could be offset by something that happens here, or vice versa, and anywhere in the state. And then the sales tax revenue for auto parts was another topic that was brought up for support, is trying to implement that on a faster timeline. Right now it's stretched out over quite a few years, but they're trying to get that sales tax money put into the road account instead of it being phased in over the next 10 years. They're trying to speed that process up. And the other big thing is the complaints were that there's all this work to be done. There's all these things that have to be included in these plans and designs, and a lot of the counties don't have the staff to do it. So basically the proposal was for AMC to support funding for staff in the design, implementation, overseeing, and inspection of these projects that have to be done. So that was another proposal that's going forward. And in far as infrastructure, there's all kinds of broadband money out there, but to try to get it is kind of complicated. And then even when you go to look at the map of are you being served, yeah, it looks like you're being served with broadband, but your download and upload speeds aren't there. So it takes individuals actually to go in and try to input that information and get the state to change it. And the state has an odd way, I think, of interpreting what is adequate, for service. So it's kind of, I really think that needs to be changed, but there wasn't a lot of talk about that. So yeah, they were gonna index the gas tax too. That was the other thing. Try to get it to keep up with inflation. So, not just another cost.
I have one comment about the construction. So I listened to a webinar about what construction is like in California? Because we're dubbed, you know, the California wannabe here. So homelessness in California, you know, is off the roof. So they interviewed a man who is trying to put up housing for homelessness. And in California, because of, I'm not sure how their programs coincide, but similar things. It takes 4 years to get a permit to even start construction. And he just said, you know, within 4 years, the current homeless population, most of those have died within the next 4 years. And so he just said, doesn't make any sense. So it'll be interesting.
Okay, you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one thing I got out of last night's Township Association meeting was Corey gave a presentation, and it was about DUI, and he said 87% of those arrested for DUI are drug-related, not alcohol. So that would be all kinds of, you know, methamphetamine and fentanyl. That was an interesting tidbit.
Didn't he say too, a large percentage is repeat?
Yeah, a lot of repeats, yep. And then, MRC, last week, school resource officer was a big topic of discussion. We had Senators Kupak and Rasmussen were there answering questions. Kupak, being one of those who voted for those changes, has now admitted that there were mistakes made there. And both of them believe that they would have the votes to change that language back, just need to have the governor go along with it, call a special session, and then agree to make those changes, because a bill doesn't get passed without his signature unless you got a veto override. And then Senator Rasmussen also mentioned that he still wants to work on fixes to the cannabis law to allow more local control, just like was mentioned here. So that is going to be an ongoing item. Hopefully we can get greater local control. With AMC, Shower already mentioned Hennepin County with forfeited land. More on the topic, they believe there needs to be unity among the counties to arrive at a solution. Some of those things that would be in a solution would be a retroactive timeline, statutes of limitations. Right now the rumors are for 15 years, but that they were saying it needs to be more like 6. And then establishing a class action fund. Because, you know, any lawsuits that come up, that there is money available for the lawsuits. Priorities from the Environmental Committee, they include the SCORE grants, like I mentioned to Josh. Drainage laws is the big one that came up, because a lot of counties deal with that. We don't have too much with it, with our sandy soil. And then the tax forfeited land issue. Putting those 3 items in the priority list. That's all I have.
Were you or Dave gonna talk about the sheriff's department for the 911? Did either of you have any things to
yeah.
add on that?
Yeah, I could. Yeah, there's 2 counties are partnering with each other for the shared dispatch.
Yeah, which counties were those?
Sandy Ojai and
They were,
I can't
down
remember.
near Wilmer, wasn't it? It's down in the southwest part.
But I wonder if that's a possibility with us, because I know a commissioner in Wadena County said they were looking for ways to, because, you know, they're struggling with finances, to partner with another county on some things. And maybe this would be one of those.
Well, I thought of that too. It's like that, it might be the obvious choice, but the advantage of that was that they described as, sure, your call volume is gonna go up a little bit, but you also, because you're sharing staff members, you might not need as many staff members, because if you're not fielding calls from Wadena, the staff member you have could be taking care of additional duties here, and it's really tough sometimes for one dispatcher. If all of a sudden you got multiple things going on at the same time and you're trying to dispatch people.
Yeah, they
If you
gave
have
her,
that second or
yeah.
third one, it sure makes sharing the burden and getting resources where they gotta go a lot faster, but it made some sense. I mean, people are scared to do it sometimes, but
They gave a real life example about if you only have one dispatcher and they're taking the call and then that person still has to then dispatch out ambulance and police and stuff. And all that takes time, where if you have more than one could be doing that and then the other person could be starting on it was pretty interesting.
And
so
don't we
that
have,
would be a question, because if we're looking at a remodel and they're moving it to the dispatch center, and if they're struggling to find people down there, would it maybe make some sense to at least look at that and see if Corey would be interested in that? And
don't we have something with Beltrami County? Because I know like at the north end of the county, you know, if you have a fire or whatever and you call 911, it goes to Bemidji.
I know our text to 911 goes through Beltrami.
And I know with the Bemidji Rural Fire Association, it's 4 or 5 townships where they provide our fire service.
And then obviously there's sharing between dispatch centers depending on where the call is and how they direct it, I'm sure. That's the beauty of the armor system. You can do that kind of thing that really kind of hard to do under the old system.
I was laughing because I actually had a resident of Wadena County this week ask if Wadena County could just be dissolved and come into Hubbard County because we're doing so much better financially.
I've had a commissioner say that.
Yeah, you're right.
The other thing that's kind of on that front too is they brought up during our radio board, they actually now have you can take your dispatch, the proper software and the proper cloud stuff and everything, mobile on a laptop, and have full dispatch control remotely from somewhere if you had to. That's kind of interesting, so.
There's something to talk with Corey about.
So the other presentation at AMC in the morning was on Family Resource Center, and actually, we're already doing that through Mojave, except the concept that is missing is, there was 3 different counties that were doing this now, where they actually have a place for the families to meet. So Polk County now is using their public library, and once a month the families, so I was gonna actually talk to Liz about that, cause there's value and connection for the families to meet and have conversation together. But otherwise, Mojave's doing what they were doing. So I was glad to hear that in other parts of the state that's going on. I was in Health and Human Services. There was a lot of talk about the lack of mental health care and the great need for it. The thing I found most encouraging was Olmsted County had children that didn't come to school. They were consistently missing, and I didn't know that, but normally that goes through the child welfare, and then that starts, it can start foster care and all kinds of avenues. Well, they realized that the majority of the students that were not attending school were 15% of their population, and they were a different race than the other 85%. And 77% of the kids that were missing in school were from this 15% of population. So they hired somebody in social services that would be the same race. And then that person started going into the homes and interviewing the families. And it wasn't because people didn't want to send their kids, but sometimes the kids had to stay home to take care of other kids. Or there wasn't transportation, or the kids were homeless and they didn't have a way to take a shower, whatever. And so once they started realizing this, they've taken it out of child welfare, and I left my notes at home, so I can't remember. They put it into a different division, and they're actually finding positive solutions. So the kids that were missing from school they're finding creative ways to make sure those kids get to school. So I was gonna talk to Brian about that, because I thought that was really encouraging. I don't know what the stats are for Hubbard County in that area, but that was really interesting. I had a Prime Health Equity meeting yesterday, And we looked at the high rate of people using the emergency room versus, and we're trying to figure out how to lessen that. So several things came up. One is, if people call to go to the doctor, there's a lot of times a wait list. You know, you're waiting 6 or 8 weeks. And then if you have a referral, you're waiting another, I don't know, however long. So one of the people at our table was actually the physician that works for Prime West that was in practice for several years. He goes, you know, if you go to the emergency room, your problem is addressed right then. And you get that care that you need. And so people might be seeing that as actually a way of getting care instead of having to wait. We talked about transportation. We talked about people not possibly knowing there were options like well service. But at the end of the day, we divided into 4 different groups. And one of the things that came out was to have a mobile unit in each county. And so they would actually go to people's houses, and a doctor or a nurse practitioner would give the health care, the wellness check, whatever, to the person in their home. That might be an option. The other option was after hours care, as far as, you know, after the 5 o'clock, to have something open for urgent care in some of the counties. So we're just exploring that.
Adding to that one, I think it's Stearns County did this, and it kind of rolls into that. They were having trouble getting that next level of care with EMSs. Because you get your medical technician, then you got your paramedic. Paramedic can do a lot of things, from different procedures to the different narcotics and drugs they carry with them. Their sheriff's department literally hired a mobile paramedic.
Really?
An individual that's their first responder. They go around and they just, mobile
Interesting.
paramedic.
Okay.
And that could be very similar type of scenario, and they found out they're able to get that higher level of care to places right away. And it's really effective in the rural areas. It's, some of these ambulance services are hard pressed to find
Yeah,
the
they are.
staffing and the
Yeah.
things they need, so.
The other thing we talked about, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, you know, Minnesota is leaning towards going to socialized medicine. And we talked about how detrimental that will be to the rural area if that happens, because the reimbursement rates would be less. And so the first area they're thinking that doctors will leave and care facilities would leave would be the rural area. So we'll see what comes of that. That's what I have.
Finish everything?
Yep.
The big first talking point at AMC, when I was down there, was student resource officers. Of course, a lot of people were not happy. So they let their dissatisfaction known early and often. By the time it got to the actual Public Safety Policy Committee, we were so tired of talking about it, we didn't spend much time on it, which it was pretty well vetted early on. But everybody's seemed to be on the same page. They hope that the legislature fixes the issue that they created in the education bill. And because there's been quite a few rural student resource officers that have left their positions. And Corey was mentioning last night at the Hoover County Township Association, there's a workaround. The problem is, yeah, you could stage a regular police officer outside the school and have them hanging out there all the time, but when the incident happens, they're coming in and they're doing the police thing to get the situation under control right away. Like happened in Mankato, they had 12 to 15 squad cars that showed up. Not a real good use of public resources. You're much better off having the resource officer in there with daily interaction with the kids. That's a positive experience. So we'll see where it goes. I'm hopeful they fix it. I think everybody down there felt the same way, so
That's an
see
example
what the legislature does.
of this rule-making concept where you get these people in these departments write the rules, and then the
Yeah.
legislatures don't really vet it as well as they should.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't even involve law enforcement in the discussion.
Yeah.
There was no committee hearing on it
No.
or anything, because it was all wrapped up into the education bill, and
Yeah.
and the politicians there tried to claim it was just a one-word change from 4 to 2 or something, but
That's what Klupek said.
yeah, somebody did say though that there is a hard lobby down in the urban area that really did push for this, kind of the same group that was all about defund the police, so it's not quite as simple as that. Somebody
So-
knew what they were doing when they put it in the bill.
So what are they trying to replace these officers with then? Is it like with defund the police where they're trying to get social
I don't
workers in?
think they're trying to replace them with anything, they just don't like it.
Defund the police is what it's all about.
So then they didn't have any creative solution to the violence in the schools?
Well, they don't have any creative solutions to the defund police thing they created either. I mean, the violence has increased ever since, and it's, yeah. You can, lack of foresight, or that's what you want. I don't know what the deal is, but cashless bail, same thing. You can go on about the politics of that stuff forever. The results are the results. And if you made policy and it created certain results and you don't like the results, then you need to change your policy again, but I don't know that that's gonna happen. Let's see what else happened there. Hubbard County Township Association meeting was last night, so nothing really perplexing there, just, you know, Corey filling people in, on why the public safety budget was going up the way it has been, and some discussion on roads, and Jed giving an update on what's going on there. That was pretty much about it. Wasn't a real high attendance. Heritage, just in the middle, right in the middle, core hard part of the transition right now, where you just gotta slug your way through it, you know? You want things to get done, but they can't get done until this gets done, or you have to wait for this.
All
So,
IT
yeah.
related, really.
Yeah, just very, anytime you're changing management like that, it's, things just pile up like that you can only do until something else gets done, and it just gets tiring, and, oh, staff is slogging through it and slugging through it, and we'll get there. Hopefully it'll, change rapidly once the end of the month and we're actually on the new contract. The only other comment I have is, you know, Charlotte mentioned the California car mandate. And there was somebody that gave a presentation at the policy conference, and I thought this sunk home, you know, on kind of how crazy it is that Minnesota has adopted that. The best-selling cars in California, best-selling vehicles in California are number 1, Toyota Camry, number 2, Tesla Model Y, number 3, Honda Civic, number 4, Toyota RAV4, and number 5, Tesla Model 3. The top 3 selling cars in Minnesota are Chevy Silverado, F-150, and Ram trucks. I'll let everybody figure out what the hell that means, but.
It means buy them now, and when they change the, you know, we can't buy them anymore, then you're gonna have a valuable, used vehicle.
That was good.
Doesn't work everywhere.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, next one is meetings to note, department head meeting. I was out last time, so Shar.
It's not my turn, because I went last time.
I think might be yours.
Yeah, it was, I had figured because I planned my vacation next week, because in the past, but you had missed it, so Shar took over, because I thought my turn would be October. So anyhow, long story short, I'm gonna be on vacation next week.
Would you like to do that one September next week, David?
I did one not too long ago, so I did it on July 25th.
Yeah, but Steve and I just did it, so it falls to you.
Oh, you both went?
Yeah.
Yeah, then I can again.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'm on vacation next week from Tuesday through Friday, so there will be a department head meeting. There will be an agenda, but I'm not sure who's gonna lead it.
Okay.
So I'll put me down for October.
Well, say something, come October. Yeah. All right, any other meetings to note? If not, then motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, we're adjourned.